In this tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to use the invoicing features in Inca Clinic. Here we are at the end of a consultation on the consultation summary screen, and you'll see that I've administered some vaccines today, and that's going to be relevant now when I show you the invoice. So one of my options here is I could go on and do a further consultation with this patient, but the default is that I'm actually ready for invoicing. So I'm just going to save and go back to the waiting room. Now, if I'm the nurse, I may continue on with my next patient, and if I work at the front desk, if I'm a receptionist or a clinic manager, I can see that Patrick now is ready for his invoice, and you can see the Generate Invoice button is ready. So Inca Clinic works very much as a workflow guiding you through the visit of the patient. So I'm just going to click Generate Invoice. And you can see down below here, the vaccines that we administered today are already queued up on the invoice for me. I don't need to remember or get a piece of paper or a note or whatever. I can see that's already done for me. I've already also configured this consultation so that it automatically puts in a consultation fee for me as well. Now that's something that your systems administrator can set themselves. If I want to, or if I stock things like insect repellents, I can also choose those from my inventory and add them to the invoice as well. I can also remove the consultation fee and replace it with another one if I have several of them as well. Some of the other options you might want to look at, for example, is I can also prepay for a course in advance, and Inca Clinic will remember that these vaccines have already been paid for. I can also do things like set discounts, so I can apply a discount to the entire invoice, or I can set it to specific individual items on the invoice. If you deal with corporate accounts, I can also choose a corporate, or it could be an aid agency, it could be just a group that are traveling together, a school or whatever. And I can assign this invoice to that actual organization instead of the individual. So I'm just going to click Associate Account, and Inca Clinic will remember this for future use. It will know that this individual is linked to this particular account. And you can even do things like set up default discounts, etc. So my final then option is to decide how I want to pay, or how the patient's going to pay for this transaction. You can set up your own categories. These are the defaults. And I can do a couple of things. I can either just double click here and that will put in the total balance that's due, click add, and it does a simple little calculation to make sure I've allocated the money correctly. Or I can go in and type in individual amounts and make sure that it's allocated for me. So once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to press Save Invoice. And it brings up this, just brings up a preview of the invoice as a PDF document with all the details on it. And obviously you can customize this with your own name and logo, etc. And I have an option here of actually, when I hit commit, to email that invoice to the patient directly, save you printing it out. I can also go back in and edit the invoice just in case we discover that there was some issue or they wanted to add something back onto the invoice for whatever reason. So I'm just going to hit commit invoice. At this stage, I can no longer, as a standard user, no longer edit that invoice, and if I needed to make a change, it would need to go back to the systems administrator. So let's go into full patient record here and just have a look at that particular record. And if I go to accounts, you can see that that invoice there is available. And in fact, I could go on and create another invoice directly off the patient's record, so I don't need to do that through a consultation. Or I can go in and create a credit note if I wish.